Hi, this is Josh Bycer from GameWisdom.com. I hope you enjoyed this Game Industry Insight, a look behind the scenes at game development. And be sure to subscribe and you can pitch future video topics. Alright, we kind of have an emergency industry insight today, hence why it is daytime while I'm recording this. But some big news was announced today regarding Steam Direct. And we've been talking about this for the last few months, and we finally got one of our first major pieces of details revealed by Valve. And it's got developers kind of up in arms about at the moment. But first, if you are one of the few who don't know what we're talking about, Steam Direct is the proposed change by Valve to replace the Steam Greenlight program, which has been a way for developers to post their game onto Greenlight, and then the community will basically vote, and when games have enough votes, it'll get put onto Steam. Unfortunately, this was heavily exploited, and some very shady deals were revealed, and some shady businesses were made because of it. And in response, Valve announced, I think it's been maybe like 3-4 months ago, maybe a little bit more than that they were going to do away with Steam Greenlight and replace it with Steam Direct. And the plan for Steam Direct is very simple. Instead of the community voting and deciding what games will get put onto Steam, now developers will have to pay a fee per game, and then the game will immediately get put onto Steam. Now, whatever that fee would be refundable, or you could basically reclaim it, I guess, afterwards. And we've been pretty much sitting idly by making speculations for the last few months. But the big news today is that Valve has confirmed what the pricing is going to be for the per game fee. And it's got people for it and against it both kind of up in arms. The fee was revealed to be $100 per game. And when I heard the news, I was kind of shocked by it. According to a spokesperson or the community, Valve made a post about saying that they wanted to be higher, but they took enough feedback from community people to make it lower. And I kind of disagree with that. I know there are a lot of developers who are also disagreeing with it. And that may surprise some of you, because why would people disagree with a very low price? Well, the reason has to do with what the purpose of Steam Direct was in the first place. And that was a way of providing a barrier for Steam to try to get rid of the lowest tier games, your asset flippers, shovelware, games designed simply for trading card sales, which Valve has recently made changes to the trading card system, but that will be probably for another discussion. The whole point of this was to try and reclaim some of the brand cred or brand reputation that Steam used to have. And this goes back to a talk that I had with Cliff Harris, owner of Positech Games, maker of Gratuitous Space Battles. He's currently working on Production Line. And we spoke on podcast about, I think, like 4 months ago on this very subject, right around the time Steam Direct was announced. And on the cast, we talked about how we both felt that the fee should be high in order to distinguish Steam from other stores. And what that meant was, when a lot of people view Steam, especially in today's market, they see it as, the bargain warehouse. Your Walmarts, where it's a massive store with all manner of stuff, discount as low as possible to get you to buy it. It may not be the best quality, but there's lots of it. But that's not what Steam originally started as, and what it began was basically to be this very highly reputable store. If you made it onto Steam, you made it, basically. And the idea was to only have the cream of the crop. And when we spoke together a few months ago, we both agreed on the importance of the fee. Basically, it goes like this. If you cannot make $100 off of your video game, then you have failed colossally. And this is one of the points of when we're talking about when it comes to money. Now, of course, depending upon your background or your profession, $100 could mean a lot of money or could be very little. For me, for sure, for some of you watching, it means a lot. But when it comes to developing a game, $100 is really just a drop in the bucket, especially when we're talking about games that are going on year to 2 years plus worth of development. And at that level, $100 is not going to matter. And the same goes for smaller games as well. The titles that we're trying to block, again, your shovelware, your quick games that are just made very cheap and very crappily, $100 doesn't really mean much if they can get a very much investment quickly thanks to sales or trading cards. And more importantly, all those games are still going to do the main thing that we've been complaining about, and that's discoverability. As we've seen on the Steam front page, your game doesn't stay on there for very long unless you become a bestseller. But then that creates that positive or negative feedback loop. If your game does well enough to stay as a bestseller, more people are going to see it, which means it's going to keep selling, which means it's going to stay up there and you make more money. But if your game gets knocked off the front page, it's going to become hard for people to find. You're going to lose out sales, and of course, it becomes much harder to get back onto the front page. And when there are so many games being released, especially on a day-to-day basis, it becomes that much harder to stand out, and why these asset flipping and shovelware titles are such a big danger to credible and reputable games, especially when it comes again to the brand reputation. If all the games you see on the front page are just crappy shovelware titles, well, what happens when you try to release your game on there? Is it going to be lumped into the same category as all those other games? Or is it even not going to make it onto the front page because you immediately post it and then 20, 30 games got released and knocked it off? And that's why, or that was the purpose of this fee. It was supposed to be the barrier to keep those games from coming out. And when I spoke to Cliff, we basically gave our own projections of what we wanted to see the fee to be. And his opinion was basically hit them high. He was talking about like $1,000 plus per game. And that to me I felt was a little high. And for those of you watching this, here's a bit of a question for you. And obviously the cat is out of the bag with the Steam Direct price, but what were you expecting the price to be in terms of the per game, publishing fee there? For me, I was expecting to be at minimum like $200 to $300, maybe like minimum $300, and then maximum $500. I felt like that seemed to be a reasonable amount of money, again, to keep in mind that we're talking about Steam. Steam is not supposed to be the Walmarts or your discount stores. They're supposed to be the high-end boutique when it comes to video games. I don't do much high-end shopping, so unfortunately I don't have a good example, but insert your own right here. But the point is, being on Steam should be a big deal. And as a consumer, this should mean that if you're seeing a game on the Steam front page, it should be of a certain quality. You should expect if a game is on Steam that it should reasonably play well. It shouldn't be something that was made in like 2 weeks using assets from Unity or stolen from other developers. And again, as we've talked about, and this goes also true for crowdfunding and early access, every bad apple spoils the bunch for future games. Every time there's a failed early access or Kickstarter game, it becomes that much harder for the next reputable game to prove that they are on the up and up. I mean, we've talked about this before, but how many people out there basically are condemning any and all early access games, regardless of the developer and the quality of the product? And this, wow, I can see the wind is picking up there, and this is why when it came to Steam Direct that people were expecting this to become a reasonable barrier. Now, obviously, like $3,000, $4,000 a high end, that I think was a little bit crazy. At that point, I think that would probably knock out a lot of even reputable indie developers to get their game onto the platform. But $100 seems too low. It doesn't even seem like a slap on the wrist. Because again, as we talked about at the start, $100 when it comes to game sales is nothing. like I said, if you can't make $100 on your game, I don't care if you spent 2 months or 2 years on it, you really did fail somewhere along the lines. And it just seems that. Oh, and the other part about this is that for those of you who don't know, the $100 fee was originally what it cost to get onto Greenlight in the first place. So Valve really isn't, rocking the boat all that much. Now, with that said, of course, whenever we talk about Valve on discussions like this, it's important to point out that Valve has had a reputation for changing things based on community opinion. So there is a very likely possibility that if you're watching this in the future right now, that Valve could have changed the fee. They could have changed how Steam Direct worked. But unfortunately, we have to go by what's been released today. Now, with that said, we still don't know how developers will recoup the $100 per game fee yet. I'm sure Valve will probably say that for another announcement, and we still don't know when the actual change will go into effect. I'm recording this right now, the first week of June, and they were saying it was going to happen in spring. So, who knows? But that's going to do it for today's industry insight. Let me know what you think below, especially if you are an independent developer, because there are a lot of people on Twitter talking about this right now. And for those of you watching, again, the question I want to pose to you is, what do you think is a fair fee? And again, whatever you feel free to post whatever. Like I said, for me, I would say minimum 300, maximum 500 in my opinion, but I'm sure we'll see numbers all over the bat. But with that said, thank you so much for watching today's Industry Insight. I'm sorry about all the light. This is why I like to do my recordings at night. But if you are new and you enjoy the video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Come back daily for discussions on game design here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. And if you have a topic you'd like me to cover in a future vlog, definitely let me know below. Let's end things here before this wind picks up any more. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and of course share with your friends. It always helps out. For daily posts on all manner of game design and industry topics, check out game-wisdom.com. To support the site and everything that I do, be sure to check out the Patreon campaign. If we can hit goals, it will mean more content for everyone to enjoy, and I'll be able to support myself and my household. If you want to follow me, you can find me on Twitter at GWBycer for updates throughout the day and random thoughts from me. And lastly, you can find me on Twitch right over there at GWBycer for daily streams most nights around 10 Eastern. Thanks again for watching the video, and be sure to check out more great content coming to the Game Wisdom channel real soon.